Cresco Labs Inc. is a Chicago-based grower, processor, brand manufacturer, and retailer of cannabis. The company develops and distributes precision-dosed medical-grade cannabis in both medical and adult use markets across the United States. Cresco Labs recently acquired Origin House for $1.1 billion. With their recent acquisitions, Cresco Labs will have operations in 11 states. The company has 21.9 million issued and outstanding shares, with management and insider ownership at just under 50%. Cresco Labs Inc. is listed on the Canadian Securities Exchange under the symbol CL.
Charlie Bachtell joins me now. He's the CEO of Cresco Labs, trading on the CSE under the symbol CL. Charlie, welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Charlie, let's start with a discussion about your recent acquisition or merger with Origin House.
Yes.
How did that complement what you've got going on now, and what was the motivating logic behind that?
You know, I think we'll get a little bit into the backstory of Cresco and explaining why the Origin House transaction was so accretive, I think, to both companies. But we got into the space to normalize and professionalize cannabis. That was the opportunity that we saw. One of the other first initial reactions we had when our home state of Illinois decided to change the way that cannabis was going to be done and really introduced highly regulated, compliance-focused cannabis programs to the industry. Cannabis was a consumer packaged good. Whether cannabis realized it at the time or not, this was going to go the traditional path of CPG. And so we really, from inception, focused on being a vertically integrated operator. So we do cultivate, we manufacture, but we definitely create branded products. We focus on distributing those branded products into stores that we don't own, and then we also have brick and mortar retail. And so the focus being on the middle two verticals of that value chain are very similar to Origin House. Origin House has created a footprint that makes it the largest distribution company in the largest cannabis market in the world. And so thinking about brands and the distribution of brands the same way, we really started to see a lot of synergies when we started getting to know Mark and talking about the business models. And there's a lot more of that sort of beneath the surface too. There's a lot of just similarities in thought process and ways that Origin House could solve some potential problems that Cresco Labs would have, and we could also offer some solutions to problems that Origin House was going to have, and together we could offer some solutions to problems that a lot of companies, especially in that market in California, are going to have when it comes to distribution and also getting out of the state of California.
Right. So currently you've got at least 11 operational states, 15 production facilities, and 51 retail licenses. That's a big asset package. Is your ambition to essentially dominate in every state where recreational cannabis is legal?
So I think one of the things about us, while 11 states is a lot of states, we were very strategic in how we decided to expand our geographic footprint. Of those 11 states, there are also 7 of the 10 most populated states in the US. The only 3 that we're missing don't have legal cannabis programs. And then even the other 4 states that aren't in the top 10 from a population standpoint, they're strategic in nature. Arizona, not in the top 10, but Phoenix is the 6th most populated city. Nevada, not in the top 10, but Las Vegas is arguably the most visited per square foot city in the country. Massachusetts, not in the top 10, but the only real adult use program in the Northeast. So very strategic in the way that we wanted to build out our geographic footprint. And for us, we really pride ourselves on execution. And so we like having the highest market share in Illinois, highest market share in Pennsylvania, largest distribution network in California. So I think for the immediate future, you're going to see us focus more on executing on the M&A that we've recently pulled off and making sure that we establish those really meaningful positions in every market that we're in. We feel like we've got the top tier markets in the geographic footprint already. Now we just want to have those material positions within them.
One of the problems that we're experiencing in Canada, and I know is also being experienced in the United States, and I'm curious to hear what your view is on this and how you're going to approach it, is the fact that in Canada, at least, we are seeing 80% of cannabis consumed by consumers still being sourced from illegitimate sources, which puts pressure on the legitimate licensed sources to make money, and also inculcates a sort of culture of black market trade, which is sort of why we got to legalization in the first place, was try to eliminate that. And so operating in 11 states, is that a problem for you guys going forward? And if so, how are you going to deal with it?
Yeah, again, I think this goes back to the strategic nature of our expansion. The first thing that we look at in any market is the regulatory structure of it. It just speaks to our backgrounds. For those that aren't familiar, you know, the founders of Cresco Labs, we all, the main three original founders, we all worked together in the mortgage banking space prior to doing this. So experience in highly regulated industry that went from relatively unregulated to hyper-regulated in a very short period of time, that's our background. Scaling a company in those environments on a state-by-state basis is our background. So the first thing that we look at any market when we're deciding whether or not it's the right market for us is the regulatory structure and the framework of it to make sure that that program can be a success. And you know, we think pretty broadly in what the definition of success is, and that's making sure that the program is structured in a way that the pricing and the taxing structure allow for a legalized market that directly speaks to eliminating the illicit market, or I guess materially impacting the illicit market. We look for that in the markets that we go into.
Okay, so you're basically expecting this to just be an evolutionary pathway that evolves in the right direction over time.
Agreed.
Yeah. Okay. Now, the excitement from the investor space has moved almost uniformly from the Canadian, which is now mature relative to the rest of North America, into the idea of the United States multi-state operator as being the best opportunity for investors to see their capital perform well. Is that going to change anytime soon? I mean, it strikes me that with several of these large multi-state operators consolidating these states and these industries vertically, horizontally, that at some point there's going to be a saturation, and the valuation of these companies will more or less reflect a fully valued basis. Do you think that time has happened now? And if not, how soon till it is?
I think we're pretty far from it, because I think there's still so many significant catalysts that are still in the forefront for U.S. operators, including the change of federal law or some modification to federal law, access to the U.S. capital markets for these U.S. operators, traditional institutional investors, the U.S. retail investor coming into the U.S. operators in that marketplace. So I think all of those catalysts are still out in front of us. I think we're pretty far from being saturated or not, you know, having plenty of runway and exciting things ahead. So I think we're in a good position.
Cool. So if you were to identify the most compelling milestones for an investor considering an investment in Cresco at this point, what would they be for 2019?
You know, I think, not to go back to the Origin House acquisition, but I really think that one of the reasons we like that acquisition so much is this is Gen 2 of what M&A is going to look like in the U.S. cannabis space. This wasn't M&A to expand geographic footprint or plant a new flag in a new state. This is now graduated into M&A for channel purposes, for increasing the likelihood of success, for establishing a distribution model in the largest state, largest market, cannabis market in the world. You know, it's a very strategic M&A structure. So I think that would be something that the investors should note, is this really it's a transformative type of M&A, one that hasn't been seen yet. So that's exciting. And then I think you're going to also see continued performance as MSOs like Cresco Labs continue to go forward. You're going to really start to see that revenue generation, that EBITDA, get created and continue to grow, and I think all of that is still in front of us. So it's a very exciting time.
All right, Charlie. Well, I really appreciate your participation today. We'll come back to you the next time you're in town or via Skype from Chicago.
Anytime.
Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you very much. Thank you.